Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Catalyst panel, The Business of the Business, with Brianna and Jordan Ancel. I'm your host and Catalyst supervising producer, Nikki Coble, and Brianna is vice president of the bi-coastal talent agency Clear Talent Group. She has over 20 years as a veteran in the talent representation business. She's also the author of the Amazon best-selling book, 10 Top Tens from a 10 Percenter, over 100 acting career tips from a Hollywood agent. And Jordan is an award-winning filmmaker whose films have been in over 60 festivals. He's the founder of thrivingactor.com. Currently, he's in pre-production for the horror feature The Unseen and also has 4 television projects in development. He's the author of the 3-month success playbook, Get Shit Done. Welcome, Brianna and Jordan.
Thanks, Nikki.
Hi, thanks. So happy to be
Hey,
here.
everybody.
I'm so glad to have you. And if you're just tuning in, please be sure to share any questions you may have as we go through. You can always drop them in the comment section below, but be sure to give whatever platform you're viewing from permission to see your name so we know who we're talking to. Or at the end of your question, just put a dash and write your name so we can address you personally. But today's conversation is centered around talent, but I have a feeling that all of the artists who watch will be able to find a takeaway because at its heart, it's really about being authentic in professional partnership with ourselves, with our team, and our community. So Jordan, I'll actually start with you. The idea of being one's own business partner, because creatives are often reluctant to think about the industry as a business. Could you speak to that? I know you have strong feelings in this vein.
I do have very strong feelings. It's something I'm really passionate about. So I often talk about how we as artists are also entrepreneurs because we don't typically think of what we're doing as a business because we come at it with our creative mind. We're an artist. We want to create. We want to tell our stories. But this is the entertainment industry. This is show business, and it runs very much like a business. So if you're able to embody more of a business mentality and approach working in the industry with certain business skills, that's going to really help elevate your career and help you get further faster by thinking of yourself as a business person in the industry. You know, I know that people often think about, well, I'm an artist first. Yes, you are an artist first. You're an artist when you are in front of the camera or behind the camera directing or writing or doing whatever it is you do, or on stage or in rehearsal. Every other time, you have to embody this business mentality and do the things that successful business people do to move forward in your career, which is nurturing authentic relationships, marketing yourself, among various other things that that I often teach in my workshops and things like that. So, yeah.
And Brianna, while we're debunking limited mindsets, are there any that come to mind in terms of being a representative that you'd like to clarify for us today?
Sure. First, I'd love to just add on to what Jordan said and just say that as a representative, when I know that somebody I'm working with has adopted this business mindset, it really makes my job so much easier. It makes our collaboration more cohesive and productive. And I can just tell that the talent, whoever actor, whoever, are just more invested in their career. So I think it shows up in all the people that you're dealing with in your career, not just having this business mindset to benefit your career, but other people notice it. And I think that when you have that piece of your career together, it makes people want to work with you all that much more. So I just wanted to add on to that. And that might be something as we're segueing into this next question here about debunking relationships with your agent. I mean, that really is something it is a relationship. Now, while I work for my clients, which also sometimes gets a little foggy. Sometimes clients or actors, talent are so desperate to get representation that it feels like we're hiring them. But in actuality, they're hiring us. They're hiring the representative. So that's just an important thing to keep in the back of your mind, but that it's also a relationship, and the most successful ones have clear communication, and trust is huge. Just like just like a friendship or even a more than friend relationship, you want to have that trust and communication so that you're on the same page and you can move forward and have a successful relationship where it's mutually beneficial to both sides. Some of the clients that I've parted ways with in the past, those things have just been missing. We weren't on the same page with them. There was maybe a lack of communication. I didn't feel like they were as invested in their career as I was, which really should be the other way around. So I think those are a few things that I think it's really good to remember about what we do from my side.
Certainly, because in your situation, you are one representative on a team representing many people. And sometimes it may not be a personal thing, but it's just that a reminder needs to come through. Oh, hey, I noticed that I sent you this. And what were your thoughts on that? To kind of nudge it, not in a way that anyone's ever not thinking of the actor, but just that there's a lot of people on your roster, and that, you might need it to come to you sometimes. And I think sometimes people get hesitant about when they're allowed to reach out or not. And certainly with drawing clear boundaries about, okay, am I willing to cut my hair? Am I willing to be nude? What are my boundaries? And are we on the same page about those, so that it doesn't come up that I'm not really comfortable, but I went in for this audition anyway? Are there other examples of things like that?
Yeah. I think that's really true about being honest about what you really want to do or don't want to do with your career. I think it can get into some pretty, you can get into trouble if I'm not clear about what my clients' wants and needs are, and they're too scared to tell me what those are. And we get too deep into maybe an audition, a callback scenario, and all of a sudden, things come out, and that's just never a way to approach it. I think you mentioned things like nudity or even content of certain projects, anything like that. You got to remember, like, as an agent, I've seen it all. Like I've people that are like, I'll do whatever, to people that are very picky about the kinds of projects and roles they want to do, and everything in between. And as long as you're upfront from the beginning and the agent still decides to sign you, well, then they know what they're getting into. And it just means we have to navigate the opportunities a little bit differently. So that's why that is just so important. You're not going to scare away your agent. And if you do, then there's something wrong with that relationship. I think that's a red flag. If the agent's like, well, I'm not going to work with you unless you'll do this X, Y, Z. Well, then that's not the right fit. That's not the right relationship for you to be in. So I think that's really important, and goes back to what you were saying about being really clear about those things from the get-go.
And Jordan, this reminds me of something that you've talked about before in your presentations and sessions, is that it's very tempting to, if you've set a goal, either with your agent or for yourself, to say, I only want to pursue TV right now. And then a theater show comes up and you go, oh, but I want it, and I don't want to say no, and I don't want to ruin those connections. You sometimes want to take the shiny thing that feels like the thing you want, but isn't. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I find that we often confuse opportunity and distraction, right? Because something may come up that seems like a really great opportunity, which it could be, but it's distracting us from what we really want. If you really decide that you want to have a career in film and television as an actor, a filmmaker, but maybe an opportunity for theater comes up, that's fun and that could be fulfilling on a certain level. But, you have to realize that the more you focus on what you actually want, the easier it's going to be to get that thing, because you're focusing all of your attention on it instead of dispersing your energy to things all over the place. We call this shiny object syndrome, right? This looks really good, or this looks really good, or this looks really good. But you have to have the conviction to say no to some things that don't move you forward in the direction you actually want to be going. And I think what happens a lot with artists is we're sort of in fear that we won't get more opportunities, that this might be the only one for a while, or, we need to pay our bills, so we need to, jump at this thing, rather than having that belief and that confidence that the more you put the energy toward what you actually want, the more you'll be moving toward what you actually want. And I think a really good practice that I've seen and that I do myself is I assess is this moving me closer to the goal I actually want or further away? Now, sometimes I choose the thing that's further away because I've decided, that is going to be fulfilling, and maybe I'll have another level of experience that I can bring to this. But just know that when you withdraw from what you really want to be doing and you take your attention from that and you're putting energy somewhere else, it's just going to take you that much longer to achieve the goals that you actually want, because you're not spending that time. And it's okay to, say no to things. It's okay to say, well, I don't want to do any, I don't want to direct theater. I don't want to act in theater because I'll be out of town, or I won't be available for pilot season or episodic season, which, it can put a strain on sometimes your relationship with your agent if they're constantly submitting you for film and TV projects, but you're constantly turning them down to do theater or anything else, really. It doesn't, it's not limited to theater. And I love theater. I came from the theater, right? But it's really more about focusing your attention on what you want and knowing that sometimes these things that come up are actually distractions, pulling your focus from what you actually want. And it's really important to be cognizant of that.
It sounds like the practice that we're after is a habit of checking in, both with your representative, if you have one, representatives, if you have managers, reps, and lawyers, things like that, that you're very clear, but taking the time to not be in a place of scarcity and like, oh God, if I don't take this, I'll never work again. But also to say, what do I want? So I have to know that first in order for anyone else to help me get it. Right?
Yeah, and this kind of piggybacks on what Brianna was saying about, being honest with not just your agents about what you want, but being honest with yourself. There are often times people feel like they're compromising their morals or their values because they feel like they have to accept every job. You don't. It's your career. Design it how you want. And look, there might, you might, as you go through your career, realize, there's more of the things that you want to do and less of these other things. And that's okay. As long as you're honest with yourself, that's really what's important, because only when you're honest with yourself will you start to get out of this scarcity mindset and focus on what you really want and bringing that into your life and live in that abundance, mindset and pursuit. And then when you can communicate that with your reps or your team, it just makes everybody that much more on board with helping you achieve what you actually want, not pushing you in a direction that you don't want to go in. So,
right. And certainly part of that check-in, it sounds like, is to do with, okay, I know we keep using the television versus theater, and I'm from the theater as well, so it hurts my heart just a little bit. My 20s heart is still in there like, no, theater is great. But that, what am I doing if I'm checking in and I do want this specific goal of just going for TV? Am I focusing on dance class and singing lessons, but not my reel that is not presenting the types that I could be seen for, right? Does it match? Is what I'm doing to get what I want in alignment?
Yeah. I think I think we as artists always have to check in with ourselves, as you're saying, to see if all of the things that we're doing in an ancillary way of, keeping our skills sharp is really helping move us toward that pursuit of whatever it is we've decided we wanted. Now, you bring up singing and dance classes, and look, that can give a lot of fulfillment and joy to people. And, in this day and age, you've got a lot of actual TV shows that are musical based. So, it's not actually a bad idea to train your instrument in these other ways, because it frees you up from breaking the habits that you're typically used to as an actor anyway. And it can bring something of a different level to your performance. But you always have to make sure that whatever you're focusing on, whether it's a class or a workshop or even your side gig, allows you to pursue or helps you pursue the exact kind of career that you want. And look, that changes over time anyway, but for what you want for right now, I should say.
Right. Absolutely. And thank you for that. What are some of the ways an actor can optimize themselves for the industry today? I know that's kind of broad, but from both of your perspectives, what needs to be in alignment for it to be clear for you to work with people?
Well, I think just piggybacking off of what we were just talking about, it's being clear on your wants and your desires. First of all, I think if you're first entering the business as an actor and you're like, I just want the experience and I want to do it all and I need to get my feet wet in all these different territories, I think that's fine. That's okay. I think, but still have a vision, a long-term vision. Okay, I want to do all these things to get experience, but my goal is to be on a TV series one day. So I want to make sure that at least I'm putting some energy towards that, and you're communicating that with your representation. But starting out sometimes is just about getting things on the resume. And if you're not a union member, getting that union card and legitimizing yourself as an actor in this business. So I think just the basics of like really getting clear on what you want and what some of your goals are. I think also having an awareness of how important your materials are and showing your work. And that's your great headshots. That's your demo reel. Hopefully, if you don't have a lot of legitimate TV film or stage that you have good quality footage of, you can get scenes done, at least to show what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing is believing. And in this day and age, I mean, there was a time when it wasn't as easy to just put yourself on tape doing a scene. This was pre-self-tape era. And I think a lot of reps would have actors do monologues or, things like that to get to see their work. Well, these days the self-tape has replaced that. And especially in the pandemic time, we rely on watching tape, on video.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding what makes a good self-tape, who you are as an actor, and that if you are recording scenes, that you're really homing in on your actor identity and what are the characteristics of the character, what are the character traits of the roles that you embody best,
Mm-hmm.
and showing those instead of trying to be all things. So you want to also be focused in who you are in your type.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes I see somebody will submit to me and they'll have like 25 headshots and they're basically just putting on a costume in a lot of these, which is more common in like for commercials.
Yep.
Like put on some scrubs or put on a janitor shirt, whatever, you can like put them in that box.
Right.
But in the theatrical world, and if you want to get taken seriously, it's not just about the costume. It's about, anybody could be a doctor, but what kind of doctor are you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you a sympathetic doctor that works at a free clinic? Or are you a money hungry, running the hospital like a dictator kind of doctor, right? Those are very different doctors, and they are different actors that are going to excel at those kinds of roles based on the traits of the characters that they play best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It feels to me like Sophia from the Golden Girls. Picture it, black and white headshots, 1993. We've come a long way from that. Jordan, what would you like to share?
Yeah, just to add to what Brianna was saying, which I think is one of the most important things for an actor to know in terms of optimizing themselves for the industry, is to know exactly who they are as an actor. Brianna calls this the actor identity. I use the word archetypes. Again, actors, we think that we can do everything and play every role. And although our abilities may say as such, we have to know how the industry perceives us rather than how we perceive ourselves. And we have to be really open to understanding that we may not be seen as a person for every single role out there, even though we feel like we can do those roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to really home in on our archetypes. And once I think that actors typically tend to play 2 to 3 main archetypes for their whole career until they maybe, get to a certain level and they can do whatever they want, right? And then they can tell people who they are, right? But I think when you really understand what those archetypes are, what your actor identity is, it helps you focus all of your marketing materials, your headshots, your reels, even your website, to give people a clear understanding of who you are, which also gives your representation a clear understanding of who you are. Because if you don't know who you are and you can't communicate that to anybody, your reps are going to just say, well, I kind of see you as this, and you're going to leave it up to their whim. But again, it goes back to being honest with yourself and really authentic with yourself about the type of career you want, and also understanding the types of roles you're actually right for and what you'll be cast in, especially when you're starting out. The more experience that you get, other opportunities will open themselves up to you. But when you can focus all of your marketing materials so that way everyone gets who you are as an actor, it just makes it easy for people to cast you, because they see you as, oh, I could totally see this person as the blue collar, mom with a heart of gold on this 1 hour serial drama who's trying to keep everything together, but, has these personal challenges, which is a very specific kind of role, which you see all the time on TV. Or, I'm the sort of bumbling, husband type who, thinks he can fix everything, and then we still have to call the plumber. There's always this kind of, when you look at the way casting works, casting casts in archetypes. You get a breakdown, or your agent or manager gets a breakdown, and it gives you a character description, and often it's personality traits. And physical traits too, and maybe you get a little bit of the story and what your desires or your character's needs are. But typically, it's the character traits of that character, and that's the archetype. So, and in commercials they call it categories, and they're a little bit broader and they're not quite as specific. But again, if the industry is thinking about archetypes, then you need to be thinking about that as well, and really understanding who you are. Then, when you have all of your marketing materials working together, it just makes it easier for people to market you, your reps to market you. It makes it easier for casting to see you on those shows, right? And I think that's probably the best way that an actor can optimize themselves for the industry, is knowing who they are and really leaning into those strengths. Often actors will say, well, I don't really want to play those kinds of roles. But, if you look like you're that type of character and you carry yourself in that way and your mannerisms are that way, you kind of have to lean into that, especially when you're starting out. And then the more opportunities you get with more success, you can, change people's minds. So
that's a great point.
Yeah.
What about our social media presence?
Sorry, Nikki, I just want to add on one quick thing about that is that a lot of it, what it comes down to is that in our industry, people don't like to take a gamble or a big risk oftentimes, right? There's too much at stake. So what they want is they want to go, oh yeah, I understand who that actor is. I can tell by their headshots and their footage. Great. It's a lower risk to bring in somebody like that than somebody who doesn't look like it. They've never met before. There's no footage. They don't know if they can pull it off. So, and this goes with actors. This goes with whether you're pitching a show concept, right? And you want to have a great deck that shows everything, and they get a real strong sense of what this world is of this show. So if you can minimize the risk factor,
right?
And this is a business-minded kind of concept, like Jordan was talking about. This is about like being your own CEO and thinking about mitigating risk factors. Like that's one way to think of it is that I want people to be confident in calling me in, confident that this is what they're going to get when they take a risk on me.
Because it's clear that I understand what that is and what that calls for, either because I've done it before or because I brought it to the room and it was so clear. But you're absolutely right. And
yeah, and I just wanted to add to that as well. And I know there's another question up here, but it's that really is something that business people think about, because again, when you are leaning into those strengths and you're making it easy for people to understand who you are as an actor, the number one thing productions care about are the productions, right? The actors are typically the last people they think of, because there's millions of dollars on the line, whether it's a movie or a TV series. These are companies and networks and streaming services that are always looking at their return on their investment that they're making. And if they're investing in an actor, they want to make sure it's the right, perfect actor for the role, which typically doesn't have everything to do with your acting. It's, do you round out the cast in a particular way? Do you fit the archetype so perfectly that we can't see anybody else in this role? Because they're banking, millions of dollars, or hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode on everybody in that episode. So everybody, that's just a pure business decision. And when you can help them make their decisions and it's less risky for them because they know what they're getting, you really improve your chances. So, and that again is like, Brianna said, and what we were talking about earlier is putting on that business mindset. If I'm a business person, how do I make it for another business to buy my product because I'm the product that they need? Right. How does the marketplace, how do the buyers look at me? Right.
It's just a flip of a switch, and it's actually hopefully a less of a weight on people who kind of constantly think that it's personal, right? Oh, it's so personal that I didn't get this role. Maybe you were next in line, but look a little bit too much like a person who has your same complexion. Therefore, they went, that might be confusing for our audience, but we're going to go here, but we like you. And also, we'll bring you back later in the season and find something for you, right?
Yeah, like you're never really going to see like a leading woman playing opposite, a recurring role where they look exactly the same or they're the same type. They're always going to cast someone who looks different because the leading lady has to, be very specific and not have anyone pull focus. Same with a leading man or even the recurring roles. Everyone's trying to create more diverse casting, so they're not going to put a bunch of the same types of people up against each other for an ensemble cast. They're going to try to cast it diversely, and that has nothing to do with you as an actor. It's never a personal decision. Sometimes it's like, oh well, you're too tall. Okay, great.
Yeah, and to Jordan's point, literally last week I was pitching an actress for a new pilot, a series regular, a recurring role on a new pilot, and they had their regular set. And the casting director said to me, "I'm sorry, she looks too much like our lead female." And so there's not much you can do about that.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'll just go wherever Kristen Milioti and Janet Montgomery aren't. That's wherever they are. I will be there.
You know where to go.
You know your competition, and so
and and even as a filmmaker, I'm having a deck design for this TV pilot, and that we've been working on with one of my producing partners, and it's really diverse in casting, and one, because we want to tell authentic stories of people in New York, and New York is a melting pot of everybody. So there's only one white woman in the cast. We're not going to audition like 300 white women. So and again, it doesn't mean that there's less opportunity for you for a certain type. It just means you have to find the right opportunity. Right.
And can we lightly touch on what we need to keep in mind about our social media presence? Because now that's a whole other way of engaging that we didn't used to have as we reflect on where we started in the business and where we are now. What should we keep in mind as we engage in those spaces?
Well, I can speak. Jordan can talk a little bit about sort of the actual act of being a good, marketer of your social media. From my perspective, there was a short time in the industry where it was like all of a sudden, this was early on when like the whole concept of the influencer even came about. That wasn't even a word prior to, I don't know what it was, 8-10 years ago or something. And there was a momentary year or two where it seemed like that's all anybody wanted. How many followers do they have? They're influencer, right? Yep. Well, it didn't really work out so well that way because those influencers didn't necessarily translate into the TV film side. They weren't necessarily good actors, or their audience didn't want to see them doing that. They wanted to see them doing their YouTube videos or whatever it was, right? So I think there became, after that, it kind of became less and less of an emphasis on you must have hundreds of thousands of followers or in order to make it in this business. I will say, though, that, if it comes down to two different actors and they're both great and they start looking at all kinds of other areas to make their decision, it could factor in. They could say, oh, well, this person, they're both good, but she's got way more followers and that could be helpful for our marketing and promotion. So she could like kind of eke out the other actress to get the part. So it can be a factor sometimes, but I would say it's less so than what some people used to think. I will also wanted to just add that, and I talk about this in my book, about the importance of just having an awareness of what your internet footprint looks like. Googling yourself, seeing what comes up. If there's anything you're not proud of, seeing if you can get that taken down. and just being responsible about what that internet footprint looks like, responsible about what kinds of things you're posting on your page. That's a reflection of you. And I think these days, especially if you're booking a big role, they're always going to take a look at what your social media accounts look like and make sure that they're not going to get in trouble. There's just too much at stake in terms of like, nobody wants to be associated with anyone who's controversial. So they're going to be looking and doing that kind of background check. So it's just so important to understand that if you've chosen this career and you want to have social media accounts, that you have a really strong awareness about,
he'll be back.
He'll be back. That you have just a really strong awareness of what you're putting out there, and that if it's something, some people make a choice. They make a choice on what their brand is and what they're putting out there, but you just have to understand that might limit some of your opportunities.
Certainly. That was very dramatic re-entrance.
I like to make an entrance.
This is now suspenseful.
Yeah, I actually was able to hear everything Brianna said because we're in two different rooms.
That's great.
So part of what I used to do, because I'm also a serial entrepreneur, is I used to own a marketing company. We used to do a lot of social media marketing, and I work with social media agencies as well, especially for promoting my things. It's really important to understand that even though social media, you're kind of removed from being in person, you should still treat it like you're having a relationship with somebody in person, because, and even to a greater extent, because it's so widely reachable all over the world. I like to live by the rule that I wouldn't want anything on social media that could be picked up by TMZ and talked about, right? And there are some social media best practices, but first I want to talk about why social media is so important for actors. It's important for actors and filmmakers and any artist, really, because it's a form of marketing. And if you're a business person, you understand that every business lives and dies by marketing. Everything that you purchase, whether it's a pair of sneakers or a particular brand of alternative milk, right? You have a relationship with that product or that company, and that makes you either buy the product or not, right? Because there's a brand behind that product. There's a voice, there's a message. Well, we're the same. If we're trying to get hired as actors or filmmakers for a job, people are looking at us like, what's our product? Well, you have to create a favorable relationship with the audience. And that is a great use of social media, to create a favorable relationship. And when I use the word relationship, I mean it is a two-way street. Often I see too many people posting things, which, social media can be a very narcissistic landscape, right? Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay, well, I'm tired of looking at you. How about you look at me for a change, right? When you can use social media to create an actual authentic relationship with somebody, whether you've ever met them before or not, that's where the power in social media is. So the 5 best practices for social media, which I believe everyone should try to do at least one of in every single post, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Instagram should actually be the #1 place for people. Yes, TikTok is great, but it's performative. It's again, that's more like, look at me, look how funny or interesting I am. Whereas Instagram, you can actually engage with people and have conversations and have that level of trust. Right? It's not as performative. It can be, when that's fine, but 80% of the time, if you're doing one of these 5 things, you're going to really level up your social media and create deeper relationships online, which you can then take offline. Those 5 things are entertain, enlighten, inspire, educate, and show gratitude in the form of congratulating or thanking. And when you can do at least one of those in every single post, it's not so much look at me, look at me. Now you're listening to what the audience wants and needs. And also, it's not just about growing how many followers you have or how many people like your posts. You have to engage people also. Leave positive, supportive comments, like people's stuff, share it, talk about them. Because when you're adding what I call positive emotional value to somebody else, you're going to pick up followers from their audience as well. And the importance of social media is just that, your audience. We're actors and filmmakers and artists, for not just for ourselves. We don't do it in a blank space, right? With, that's just amorphous. We do it for an audience. And there's got to be that relationship with the audience. And the reason we need that audience is because, as Brianna said, there might be two actors who are both amazing, but if one comes with a little bit of a more built-in following, well, guess what? Then those are eyes looking at the advertising on TV, or, the trailers for other films in the movie theater once those open up fully, right? It's butts in seats, as we call it, right? And if you're the type of actor or filmmaker that's doing a lot of content creation to get stuff out there, which I highly recommend for everyone, you're doing that for your audience. And if you're running fundraising campaigns, guess what? Your audience is going to be, they're going to be the ones that are going to contribute to your stuff. And, you take your audience with you wherever you go, whether you're on TV, in a commercial, in a film. They want to know who you are as a person, not just who you are as an actor. So when I see people posting all their self-tapes and headshots over and over and over again, that's the fastest way to tune somebody out. Pick some areas of your life that you're interested in. See who else is interested in those areas that are in the industry. Like, follow some casting directors or agents or managers or producers or showrunners or directors or network executives. If you're all into skydiving, great. Comment on their skydiving, show a picture of you skydiving, tag people in it that you think would be interested in your content, and add some positive emotional value. And also engage with them. My good friend Ben Whitehair, he is a social media guru and influencer and a full-time actor, and he actually works at a social media agency. He runs one. And, he often talks about how we often use social media as a megaphone to broadcast what we want to say. But I love this visual of turning that megaphone around and listening. Listen to the audience. Engage with them, be positive, be supportive. And you can then start to grow these authentic relationships online. I know that, I've been following some people for years and they've been following me. And when they go off social media for like a couple of weeks or a month, I get concerned. I DM them, "Are you okay?" Right? And then they do the same with me when I'm busy and I'm not on social media. We've actually created these relationships. And that's a great use of a free marketing tool. And, so that's 80% of the time you're doing one of these 5 pillars of social media best practices. And then the other 20% of the time is, hey, support my movie or check out the show that I just, have a part on. And, yeah, you can promote yourself and everything you're doing, but marketing isn't about selling anything. It's not about, telling people how great you are and what an awesome life you have all the time. It's fine to do that, but it's about creating an authentic relationship. And it has to be a two-way street.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And, like, I look at social media, like every time I'm casting something for one of my things, I look at the person's social media because I also want to see, like, are they a dick? Like, I don't want to, I want to see who you are in your real life. Yeah. Right. People do check social media. It's a really important tool. Like any business that you go on a job interview for, like in the traditional 9-to-5 or 9-to-6 world, they're going to look at your social media. It's the same in the industry because we're an industry of professionals and we want to make sure that these people are professional. And, oh, wow, they're interesting also. Great. They like dogs. Great. I like dogs. Terrific. It's a really great way to sort of give people information, share information that they'd be interested in, and create an authentic relationship to grow your audience and also promote your stuff when you can. So.
I wish I remembered who it was to attribute this quote to, but there's a saying about either coming to the party or coming to the table with more than an empty plate, right? But you're not just going, "I'm here, isn't that great?" But I'm here and I brought something that you like, and I know that because I bothered to take an interest in that. And that same kind of thing I think about with the agent engagement, because a lot of people think that getting representation is an end game. Once I have an agent, then I'll be set. And that's not actually the case. You don't stop doing the work. You just do the next level of work when you bring an agent into the table or a team onto the table. So, Brianna, what does signing an actor actually mean to you?
Yeah, well, I just had a thought when you said that real quick, is it's almost like you do more work because you want to accelerate, right? So if you are getting, all of a sudden you're signed with an agent and you're getting opportunities, well, now you have something to even build on even more so. So if you just sit back, okay, so that might, one thing might need to lead to another, agent might get you some more stuff. But now you have something that you can actually put even more energy into in terms of promoting or building relationships or maintaining relationships with people that you've worked with. And so it's like you almost have to put even more in and say, okay, now I can really accelerate this. It's like the boulder rolling down the hill, collecting stuff as it goes. You just want to keep building and building on that. And that's why momentum in our business is so important. And coming around to your question here, what does signing an actor mean? I mean, for me, I'm really looking for somebody who I feel like I can help build momentum. And I get them and I see their talent. I feel like, okay, I could be passionate about this actor. And if I'm passionate about it, that's the only way that I can really sell an actor to a casting director or anybody else, is if I'm first passionate about them and their work. Otherwise, it's like saying, yeah, this phone's okay, but do you want to buy it? Right? Instead of like, this is amazing. You have to get this phone, right? So you got to have that passion, and then that gives me excitement too, because I'm like, I here's somebody new, and you've got to meet this actor, and they're really great, and then along with having all those wonderful materials that hopefully they've got, which I'm looking at too, like when we interview or have a meeting with an actor, we're asking them questions about, what are you doing on your own? What is your training? What are your materials like? Trying to pick up on all the things that they're doing that are proactive, that we feel like is gonna, or they're things that we're attracted to in our clients, because we want to know that they're really invested and they're not just going to be, like you said, one of those actors that just sits back and waits. Because for us, I have actors that I signed, and over a year, they haven't made me a dime. But every day I'm still submitting, I'm pitching them. And we do that because we haven't lost faith in them. Sometimes it just takes longer for some actors to like get that thing, especially if they're more developmental. So I have to ask myself, okay, if I sign this actor, right, they may not make money for me right away, but I need to be that passionate about them that I know eventually that they will.
Mm-hmm.
Some make money all the time, or they're much more frequent. So like there's in some ways, we're doing a lot of work for free for our actors that need a little bit more work or haven't quite made it yet. So we have a lot invested when we sign somebody. And that's why agents use a lot of different criteria, and what I like or what might fit for me right now on my roster is going to be totally different than somebody else. And I think it's really important that actors understand that if somebody says no, you can't take it personally. It just means it's not a fit. It's not the relationship with that person. It doesn't mean that you're not going to find somebody else that loves you and what you do and is going to be the fit, and that person that is like, yes, I've been waiting for your type and I'm really excited to represent you. So it's just being persistent about it. The same way I'm persistent when I'm pitching to casting directors. I pitch over and over and over again. And then finally the right role comes along and they're like, okay, yeah, that's a fit. I'll see them for that.
Mm-hmm. And can you just tell us, does signing happen more slowly or quickly than we think? I know it's case by case basis usually, but
yeah,
the process slow?
I wouldn't call it slow. I mean, I think if somebody submits to me and I see their material and I'm excited about their material, and we decide to take a meeting with them and we just love them, we might, if they have a manager, we might have a conversation with their manager to get a little bit more insight, but we can usually make a decision pretty quickly on whether or not we want to work with them. And sometimes you want to make a decision quickly because you don't want anybody else to sign them. If you're that excited, you want to make that offer and say, let's do this. And so for that reason, I don't think we usually let it drag on more than a week or two. I also don't think that's very fair to an actor. Like, just like, oh, we met and we'll wait to make a decision, or, just want to be clear.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there are occasions where I need to see more footage. And so I might find a great scene. They might say, like, I really want to do these types of roles. I've been told this is right in my wheelhouse, but I just don't have footage of it yet. So we might say, oh, here's a scene, put it on tape so we can see you do it. So sometimes there's a little bit of sort of homework that might come out of a meeting, and just so we can see more and really start to understand more of the actor's versatility before we make a decision.
Mm-hmm. And Jordan, as a coach, you've kind of heard actors before lamenting that they're a little bit afraid to book out, or some of the no's that we said, the challenging conversations about turning down auditions or turning down specific projects because of what it entails. What is that really a symptom of, do you think? And how might we reframe these challenging conversations?
I think it's a symptom of fear, specifically the fear of missing out, the fear of, I guess, not pleasing your agent or anyone else, right? I think it's just pure fear that, I don't want to do the wrong thing or piss somebody off or, give up an opportunity because what if I don't get another one for, a decade? I think it's really important that, if you have to book out because you've got a vacation plan and you've been looking forward to it, go on the vacation. Like, self-care is really important. And I think what happens is we forego self-care because we feel like we need to do everything all the time. But there's always going to be opportunities, especially if you have an agent that you have a good relationship with and that you're working on their behalf. Like, your agent's going to go on vacation at some point, so you can too. I mean, when you look at the rest of the working world, people go on vacation. Or people have to take personal time for whatever reason, or maybe you just need a break. Maybe you've been grinding away for, a long time. You just need like a month off. That's okay. And I think if you have a really honest conversation with your rep that you need some personal time or that you're just not going to be available for whatever reason, that's fine. I think they'll be understanding. And look, if you, again, if to reiterate what Brianna said earlier, that if your agent doesn't want to work with you because you're booking out and it's like the middle of pilot season, then you kind of have to look at that relationship, like what is triggering them, and have a conversation about that, right? Because if your agent is so desperate that you need to be available for any audition, I mean, it's great that you might be their only star client, but they do have other clients.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be able to, fill that need, hopefully, with someone else in a particular way.
Yeah.
But I think, really doing some mindset work about being confident in who you are, what you want, and having an honest relationship with your representation and knowing that there's always going to be opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important. And I think the way you have those conversations is just contact them and say, hey, listen, I really need to talk and have an honest conversation. Look, any professional will listen and understand, and you can work something out. And, there was, and I'll let Brianna speak to this, but, sometimes you might book out, but, there might be an audition that comes in and they might have dates of shooting that are like, a week or 10 days long. Well, your agent can certainly talk to casting, see what is it going to shoot up front or is it going to shoot toward the end? Can they find out? Because maybe you can do it. I mean, it just depends. Your agent and your manager's job especially is to manage your schedule. Like, they should get that information for you to see if you can actually audition or do something, because they want every opportunity for you. And if it's a really good one, of course, they're going to want you to take it, because they have your best interest at heart. And then they also make their commission because they do work for free on your behalf for most of your career. Right. So I think, just having that honest relationship with your agent and your manager or your attorney or whomever, friend that manages you, your publicist, whatever it is, I think, sort of, it's just mindset work and just being confident in that you can, create the career you want, especially when you have good communication with everybody that's involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was just going to say that it kind of comes down to like one phrase, which is no surprises, right? Mm-hmm. So like, we just want to be involved in the conversation about things. And I think if you come at it like that, then you will minimize the chance for needing to have a challenging conversation in a lot of ways. Like, even as simple as booking out, like, I don't want somebody to email me like, hey, I'm leaving on Friday for 2-week vacation. Like, you've probably had this plan for a little while, so we could maybe have talked about this, or you could have told me in advance so I could make sure to not submit you on projects that work during that time, or we could have had that conversation about Will you have self-tape equipment? Are you willing to come back if you book? Like all those things that's important for us to know, just so we know how to look at that time period. It's going to be okay. Like Jordan said, people take breaks, vacations. It's healthy. It's good. We just don't want there to be any surprises. So we know how to manage and navigate the opportunities that come our way for you. And the same thing, no surprises are about things that we talked about it earlier in the session today, about what your goals and needs are, things that you won't do, you don't want to do. And I've heard from some actors who've said, oh, I had a really, how do I tell my agent that I really don't want to do this role that requires me to show my backside nude or something like that, and I've already done the audition and this and that. And it's like, well, that's a conversation you should have had prior. So being upfront, being honest, making sure that everything's on the table is really going to minimize the opportunity for those hard conversations, I think.
Mm-hmm. Don't ask your rep to have to back you both out of a room that you've already walked into, knowing that you weren't going to walk through the next door, right? And in the same way, I think that the universe and Murphy's Law loves a vacation, loves a booked wedding.
Totally. I was going to say, if you book out, you're going to get an audition. So
you usually
always
in your favor. Keep that in mind as you get returnable flights. But if someone doesn't have their ideal advocate yet, they haven't found that partnership, one of the ways that people right now are optimizing themselves is by creating their own work, because whether it's through a writer's group or in collaboration with directors and writers, other actors that we admire, it helps us establish our authentic voice, understand the bigger picture, so that we're not the engine behind the project next time. We understand why it's taking time to check the gate or any of those things. And it also helps us expand our network through the festival circuit. But I'm interested in knowing what it does from your point of view, what it achieves from your point of view, for someone to be someone who creates their own work. How does that help you partner with them?
I just love people that are willing to be proactive and say, I'm going to take things into my own hands and do something and collaborate with others. I mean, that's a best way to build relationships, is just to take initiative and work collaboratively together. And you just never know who is going to see your work because of the people that you're working with, how you can help the others that you're working. Like it goes both ways, right? Don't just do something because of what you're going to get. Go into it with, okay, let's all work together because I have connections here, you have connections there. We can all kind of use our network together and get this thing seen. Or, if you're looking for an agent and you work on a scene with another actor who has an agent, you never know if their agent's going to end up seeing it. There's just there's so many indirect benefits to creating content that it's impossible to name them all. I think you just have to go for it. And, you want to make sure it's something that's good, that's good quality. I think that's really key. Good quality, good writing, good co-stars, good people behind it. So, from the beginning of your career, set a tone that you are particular about the types of people that you surround yourself with. And you want to make sure that they are all like-minded and they really want to deliver their best. And look, the first thing that anybody ever does isn't their best usually when it comes to filmmaking. But you got to start somewhere. But I think you can also, when you start out, start laying the foundation for being choosy about the people you work with too.
Jordan, did you want to weigh in?
I do, because this is something I'm extremely passionate about. And I teach this in workshops. I teach this online. I work on this with my clients. And for me, I put it into practice as a filmmaker as well. The number one way to move the needle forward as an actor is to produce something that you are starring in. And here's why. One, I see a lot of actor reels where, they've got a lot of co-stars and some guest stars, and that's all great. You got a list of credits. Awesome. And their reel is a line here, a line there, a line there. That just shows people you can walk on a set and say some lines. Doesn't really show me you're a great actor. What's going to show me that you're a great actor? some great acting, some meat on a roll that you can chew on, right? So produce something that plays to your archetypes or roles that you really want to play. Like, you have the opportunity to create the perfect role for yourself and to really shine in that. Do it, because then you can show that to an agent and go, wow, this person's really freaking good. They've got no credits, but they're so good. Like, I don't know, maybe we can do something together. You know, managers too, casting directors too. You have something to promote.
Mm-hmm.
And so a benefit is, if you don't have anything to promote, neither do your reps. It's a much different conversation when your rep can pick up the phone and call a casting director. It's like, you have to see this person. They don't have any credits, but look at this performance. It's freaking amazing, and they're perfect for your show.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have a good relationship with that casting director and they'll watch, 30 seconds or a minute of that performance where you're the star, you've just improved your chances.
Absolutely.
Another benefit is that you get to collaborate with a whole bunch of people. You should not do everything yourself. Have a writer help you write something or collaborate. Unless you are a writer, hire a director. And by hire, I mean, look at your friends on Facebook or Instagram. Who do you know in your immediate circle that's just sitting around going, geez, I wish I could be working on something right now. Well, guess what? You can all be working on something right now together as friends doing something. I have seen this over and over and over again. And I have some people in my life that are very dear to me. They were past students or clients of mine that are now really good friends who decided to create their own content. And that has completely changed their lives. It's given them so many more opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
One friend, he's now producing films where he actually has a role and he's playing in a film with, big movie stars.
That's my cousin.
And he's producing it. Sorry, what?
That's my cousin, isn't it?
That's your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie G.
Good
Yeah.
one.
But,
Yeah.
he took one of my workshops, like 10 years ago, and he really started doing that work, and he produced a web series that did incredible things for him, and he produced a documentary, and now he's producing a film with Mickey Rourke, and he's got a role in it, and now he's being asked to produce other things. And I did this myself too. I mean, I have my own success story. I was in the entertainment industry for a long time. I started out as an actor. I had my own theater company in New York. I came out here, I did a lot of commercials, and I left the industry for 17 years. Just completely left it to do other business stuff because I had that interest also. And then one day I realized how much I missed being in the industry. So I decided to come back as a filmmaker. I wasn't going to wait around for an opportunity. I went and I made a film. I won some awards. I was in a lot of festivals, and I got to work with a whole group of people that I'd never worked with before. And now I have all those relationships too, that I can work with them again, and their audience is my audience is their audience. And that opened up other opportunities for me also, directing other things, producing other things. I've been asked to produce this feature film. So, it's really important because you will create opportunities for yourself that you never knew existed just by creating something. Plus, as you said, Nikki, getting into film festivals.
Mm-hmm.
And as actors, we do this again for our audience. If we've created something, guess what? That audience will log into an online film festival or maybe show up in a city and see your film. And now you get to meet your audience in person. And, sometimes you can win awards. That looks great. Having laurels on your website or like something to talk about, like, oh, so-and-so just won this acting award at, DC Shorts, which is a very good festival.
Mm-hmm.
That's something for your reps to talk about. And again, it just creates more opportunities, and you open up your network of people. You open up your world of people who you can now work with. And it's a very different conversation when you're meeting a casting director. Oh, when they go, well, tell me something about yourself. Well, if you're not really up to anything, what are you going to say? It's a very different conversation. So, well, my film has been in like 14 festivals. I was just in South by Southwest. I was nominated for 2 acting awards. We got a Best Director award, Best Film, whatever it is. That's a whole other level of conversation right there, So even if you don't book that role, they're going to remember you for sure as this person who is a go-getter, is a hustler, is up to something. And it just shows how professional you are.
Mm-hmm.
Something I like to impart to everybody that I coach is that you have to demand professional excellence of yourself. And creating a project also allows you to help other people be successful because they're able to help you tell your story, but a DP gets to work A casting director, if you hire one, gets to work. A makeup artist gets to work. Hopefully you're paying these people if you're able. So you're a job creator now.
Mm-hmm.
That comes with like a huge level of professional responsibility, and also it gives you a really amazing insight as to how the industry works, even on a small scale. Because once you have that understanding as an actor, a lot of your fear goes away, and a lot of this like, oh, I didn't book the role goes away. Like you're just like, get it. You get it. Oh, every decision I've made as a filmmaker is a business decision. Well, guess what? I'm also an actor, so now I get it. You know,
Right.
it just completely shifts your mindset when you
Mm-hmm.
can create something. And yeah, it has to look good. It has to sound good. The production value has to be great. Even if you shoot it on an iPhone, it has to look amazing. It has to sound amazing. And everybody that you have on the project should be a professional in their field. And yes, you can get people for low cost or free. I mean, ideally, you want to pay everybody. But again, if it's your first one, go for it. You know, it just changes the game for you 100% of the time.
Yeah, and I honestly, as someone who's walked that path as a creator, but an actor first, the shift is from here to here, but it's honestly, it reads so much bigger than that, I think, in the room, as I've had feedback come back to me, as I'm no longer coming in the room as an actor to ask a question. Am I in a lane
Right.
doing her best Selena Meyer, or I'm in a lane doing her best Selena Meyer, which is my little tagline, but
Yeah.
am I the one that lives in the world of your show?
Right.
I'm no
Right.
longer asking if I'm worthy of the thing. I'm
Right.
saying, this is the thing that I do. Does it fit with your vision? And
Yeah,
if it
there's a
doesn't,
whole other level of confidence that comes with being a professional in that way.
yeah.
You know,
Or
which
just
is
the
goes to what you're saying.
understand, yeah, just the understanding that it's just the actor is just one piece of the puzzle,
Mhm.
and that if this world isn't for you, then there's going to be something else.
Right.
But I think a lot of times actors try so hard to, I got to give them what they want. I got to give them what they want. I got to
Right.
give them what they want. Instead of saying, I'm giving you the choices that I made for this character, and I hope you like it. And I hope, like you said, it fits. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Right.
But just that understanding adds that confidence to make those choices. And that translates as a more confident professional actor. And they see it in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also again, just your level of understanding of what goes into a production, because you have to think about every detail, every detail. And if you do have a budget, you have to know where your money is being spent and make sure that you're spending it on the right things. And if you have a schedule, that you stick to that schedule, you know, and it just creates this whole more profound level of understanding of how the industry actually works, because this is just a little microcosm of how it works on the bigger scale, because it all works the same way. You know, it doesn't matter if you're making a $2,000 film or a $2 million film. You still got to cast it. You still got to shoot it. You still got to book a location. You still got to hire talent. You still got to feed people. It's all, you know, it's just, you know, bigger budget just means, you know, you're spending more money on the same stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, your fires are bigger and you're putting them out with a bigger fire hose,
Sure.
right? But it's that level of understanding of how the industry works is an incredibly important insight to have as not just an actor, but as a business person who is an actor, because now you will effing get it. You just will. And
You're
it
a
will,
much better collaborator.
change your perspective and it'll change your life.
Mm-hmm. Are you all doing okay on time if we have just 2 more? Yes?
Yeah, I think
Go for
so.
it.
So both of you, in your own right, have created fantastic resources with your books, and I would love to know, what are some of the tips or tricks that people are responding to the most from your books, and why is that?
Well, thank you for mentioning the book. I am very proud of it. It took me a while to put together. And the reason that I put it together was because I do a lot of Q&As and things like that. And I realized that there's so much, actors are yearning for this information, but there's not all just one spot to get it. And I said, well, let me put these things together, what's in my head, and put it in a book. And I don't know that I've gotten like a lot of actors saying, oh, this one thing, you know. I think what it is what I think is really cool is I've had actors who are just starting out say how much they feel like they now are like ahead of the game, like they understand things that they wouldn't have known. And then I have actors who've got huge resumes that have been in the business for a really long time that decided to get it in support, and maybe they wouldn't have gotten it if they weren't close to me or whatever, but they did, and are so glad because they were reminded of things that maybe they thought they didn't need to do anymore, or that couldn't be an asset to them, even though they had a pretty established resume or career already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like, no matter where you're at in your career, there's going to be some really strong takeaways that you can either apply, reapply, share with others, whether it's just the chapter on how to stay grounded, which is more about just your mind, your headspace in this industry, and how it can be such a roller coaster, and just some tips for being able to manage all of that. I mean, that's essential no matter where you're at in your career. And then some other chapters that are really focused on just materials, which we know is so critical. And some people just needed that reminder about how important and why they're so important. And if they haven't given attention to their materials in a while, well, maybe they should. And I actually had a client of mine who read my book and said, now I get it. Now I see why you are always telling me I need to update my demo reel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It took a book for you telling you,
Right.
For you to get it, right?
You needed it in print.
Yeah, I needed it in print.
Through it on the subway.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But it's been really fun to see and hear the benefits that people are getting from the book, and I just love that. That's why I wrote it. I wanted people to learn something, to have actionable things that they could take and do on their own to advance their careers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And Jordan, what about you?
So I actually had a book that I wrote in 2012, which is now out of print, which is just interviews with industry people. And it kind of launched my coaching for artists career, because I really understood that artists don't have any business skills. And as I got further into this process and now have like a whole coaching program and a whole private free Facebook group for people to join, which is the Thriving Actor Facebook group, I decided, I really wanted to help actors get further faster. So I created this playbook for success. It's called the Get Shit Done Playbook for Success. It's a 3-month program, which you can download for free on thrivingactor.com. It is a free download, people. And just because it's free doesn't mean it doesn't have value. This will change your life. I have testimonials, video testimonials, written testimonials of people who've actually done the work, and it's changed their life. And it's not like it changed your life in 3 months, but it moves you further along in 3 months. And guess what? At the end of 3 months, just do it again and keep doing it for a year. But it's an actual like step-by-step instructional guide to help you move forward in your career. And it's got some mindset training in it, but it really goes to, how do you create actual goals? How do you create an action plan? How do you stay accountable? And what are you doing every day for those goals? Do they move you further away from your goal or closer to your goal? Some things that we talked about earlier. And the reason why I made it free is because I want everybody to really start to become more business mindset oriented, to have the success they want. There's so much more opportunity for actors now with all the streaming services, all the online content providers, all of these things. And, I think that people don't quite know how to begin. Obviously my wife's book is an amazing book for actors at any level, but this is, the Get Shit Done Playbook is a tool that goes hand in hand, because once now you have all that information of what to do, here's the guide on how to do it and how to implement that in your life on a daily basis so you can start moving forward. And these are like unsolicited testimonials, and people will post stuff in the Thriving Actor Facebook group. People send, like, this one guy sent me a video. This free download, literally, people, if you stick to it and you commit to it, it will change your life. And that is what I hope it does. And I love actors. I used to be one, and I know how hard it is. And when I was an actor, we didn't have this kind of information. They don't teach you this at conservatory or your MFA program or any of that. They teach you how to be an actor. They don't teach you how to go out and be a business person and navigate the industry. And that's really what's going to make the difference. You could be the most amazing actor on the planet, but if you have no business skills, you're going to be struggling.
Yeah.
And that's what this playbook is designed to do. Yeah, I've tried to. I really have the intention of shaving years off of the process of making it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I really truly believe in this playbook. And, people are like, oh, you should charge money for it. I'm like, why? just give it to people for free. It's not like, it's a digital download. It's not like you can buy a hard copy of it, download it, print it out, put it in a binder. I do it. I still have mine, and I, but it's designed to really help people move forward. And also join the Thriving Actor Facebook group only because it's free. And I have industry people come and talk to you guys, and I do my business trainings for free there. And, if you download the playbook and join the Facebook group, it's a positive, supportive community, because I really think that there's just not enough of that. I think that I believe that people think that it's a very cutthroat, competitive industry. It's not really. Once you really understand how it works and you can navigate it like a business person, and certainly like once you understand, what you need to do as an actor, from my wife's book, and have that complete understanding, and then like approach it like a business mindset, you're going to go way further faster than people who are just taking constant like casting director workshops and acting classes and things like those are important. But at some point you've got to invest in the things for yourself that will actually move the needle forward. Because look, if you've been taking acting classes for a couple of years, and you've been taking audition classes for a couple of years, and you keep getting headshots done, and that's not making the difference, you got to look at what you're spending your money on, right? Again, that's a business mindset thing. What's my return on investment? Maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I need to learn how to take a marketing class, or, learn how to do some public speaking so I can communicate in my cold outreach a little better. Or maybe I need to learn some actual business skills. So
there are plenty of, oh, sorry.
Oh, and I would say, maybe I need to learn how to set actual goals instead of going, oh, I just want to be on TV. Like that doesn't mean anything, So yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please. I felt like we were in a
yeah.
there. But I think that there are plenty of talented people who are incredible, even friends in my circle, who are sitting on the couch waiting for someone to ask them to come and play.
Yeah, never going to happen.
Practical ways to be on the field and be in action.
Yeah.
And lastly, I think that maybe it's just because we've all been through a pandemic and we're very sensitive to the bandwidth now, but there's been kind of a recurring theme in a lot of these Catalyst sessions that we've had, and talking about getting out of the transactional mindset. Not just like, oh, hi, I wanted to meet you because you're an agent and I want you to represent me, but more developing a relationship over time and getting to know people, and not coming with your hand out, but actually figuring out which ways in which you could be a solution, you could be an offering, like we talked about with social media or just in the industry itself. I know for myself, when I started producing, connecting good people, like, oh, Brianna, you should meet this wonderful friend of mine who has this very specific talent, and I know that you were looking for someone like that on your roster. Has nothing to do with me, but for being the medium between two great people. And that just creates more energy of abundance in your community. And if everybody's winning, what do they say? A rising tide raises all boats. Isn't that wonderful?
A rising tide floats all boats, or something.
Right, something like that. And I should probably look up a quote before I use it, but I think that that's a wonderful energy to bring to the table, is how can I be of service to the people around me? Because if we're all winning, then I can't help but benefit from that. So my question is, to make sure that we're tending to you as fully realized humans and not just in your professional capacity, what do you love right now, and what are you looking forward to? Let's get to know you as people a little bit better before we go.
Gosh, what do I love right now? What am I looking forward to? Right now, I love collaborating with, I have different development and producing partners right now on multiple projects. And I love that because I love working with different people. I love helping them bring their stories to life. And I love like that problem solving of how do we get it made, or how do we get it on TV? And I'm really looking forward to like just the surprises that are coming, because I don't know what's going to happen. I can only, have my goals and do my actions, do all those things, and and work with these people, but it's all that very exciting stuff for me of like, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's do everything we can in the best way possible, and then we'll see. Like I love the surprise of what could happen. I recently found out that one of my script is doing really well, and I'd like to sell it this year, who knows, but it's I think just having that information is just very exciting to me. And then having this one of these deck designed with this big company that does decks for Netflix, which was a gift, right? Like, okay, and seeing how that elevates the project, and what kind of meetings we get from that. And just I love this kind of energy that's crackling right now of collaborating with people, because I want to help them, and in turn it's helping me too. So it's a collaborative effort, and that's really exciting in terms of like my professional life. My personal life, obviously I'm married to an amazing woman, and we've got some things going on that we're very excited about, which we won't talk about here, but it's I'm super obsessed with our dog. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
I mean, Fiji is kind of top 5 of all the dogs I know. Oh, show. Yes.
Yes.
What about you, Brianna?
Well, thank you, Jordan. I love you too. It's interesting to say, like, the self-tape era, I would have kind of a love-hate relationship with it, but I tell you that I love it because I get to see my actors like I've never gotten to see them before. When they went into a room and they auditioned, I would have to take their word for it. Either they would tell me it felt great, this or that, or casting director, which, it's hard to get any kind of lengthy feedback often. No, they did good, or yeah, they were good, just not for this. You don't get much, right? When I get to see it, I get to see, oh, they're great in this type of role, or not quite a fit, or I think they can do better. Let's do it again. Like, it makes me feel more integrated into the audition process with them, how they're growing as an actor. I can see those changes. I have had several actors who I think about, like, the first tape that they ever did and where they're at a year from now, after guiding them in the right direction, or them changing up their training, whatever it might be. And then you just see that growth. And that's really exciting to me, because I love seeing growth, whether it's in my actors, in the types of projects that they book, in the agency, and the growth of my department, other departments. I really love that. And anytime I feel like there's a great quote, we're quoting things, people we don't know who to attribute it to, but that says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so at any time where you feel like you're sort of stagnating, you've got to ask yourself, okay, what's missing here? We've got to ask ourselves, what do we need to do to continue to grow? Mm-hmm. And so I really love being a part of that process. And and I think in terms of what I'm looking forward to, like everybody, I'm looking forward to being back in my office regularly with my coworkers, and sharing in our great company culture, and meeting more clients face to face again, and having more of that human interaction. I do think that the Zoom era is here to stay. And I think the other thing that's cool about that is, even if you can't meet in person, it will still give you a sense of FaceTime. And I think that option just was never wasn't as readily available or as accepted in our industry. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think good things are on the horizon and continue to be.
Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to seeing how the industry corrects itself after being off a year and a half. Mm-hmm. Because I think people want to do things in a different way, and it's going to be that marriage of doing things the same and also doing things in a different way, and right. Seeing like how people create. I was fortunate that I was able to produce a couple of things during the pandemic, and one was actually a live theater piece that we did a multicam live stream for, and we raised a bunch of money for charity. I'm really proud of that. And another was a film that we shot on the East Coast, and just seeing like how the world opens up, and how many more opportunities there are for people, because, as Brianna has said, the Zoom era is here to stay. People can take meetings with new talent virtually anywhere, and people can audition from anywhere now, and we can take meetings. I mean, writers' rooms are still on Zoom, so it's for shows, a lot of them. So it's really kind of an exciting time to see how we all come back from this, and what new opportunities are available because of it. So, yeah.
I think too, it's also an abundance of gratitude is what I'm seeing from people, being able to, like Brianna said, come back into an office and be looking forward to, oh my God, these are the people that I get to work with every day. And what does it mean to sit down and have an actual coffee in the same room / zip code as a client? What does it mean to be able to go in for producers, things like that? And so it's very exciting. And I'm certainly grateful that you both have taken such a lovely amount of time to share with us today, your insights and all of your wonderful advice. So thank you for spending time with us. And we're so lucky to have you in the community. We'll see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And we hope to connect with you again soon down the line.
Awesome.
Take care and best of luck.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Nikki. Bye, everybody.
Good luck to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.